My name is Debbie Kimbrell. I am the administrative assistant here at Anderson Chapel. I also work as part of the media ministry. It was great working with Lighthouse. Everyone was very professional, came in to do video recording and streaming for a conference that we hosted here on time. They did what they needed to do, was seamless and transparent. It was great. And feedback, everyone was impressed. So it went out, it was a conference level, so a state level event, and everyone was impressed with the product and the result. We got the DVDs too, which people purchased, and they were impressed with those. It was great overall.
Hello, my name is Roy Gillis, CEO of Lighthouse Streaming, and you're watching Centex Sports Network.
This is why you need Centex Primetime. Jalen Gillis brings the realness. Dive into the heart of sports with the most passionate commentary around. From pro to high school, Jalen's got the insight and energy you crave. Catch all the action weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m. on the Centex Sports Network, only on YouTube. Join the conversation and elevate your sports knowledge with Centex Primetime. Don't miss it.
Need video or audio solutions? Lighthouse Streaming, a full-scale media agency, can transform any event. Check this out. We're talking live streaming that's crisp and clear, event audio that hits every note, and church video and audio solutions that'll enhance worship. Corporate events, we got those on lock too. From concerts to conferences, Lighthouse Streaming and Audio makes your vision shine. Book your appointment now at lighthousestreaming.com or call 254-252-4206 for a free consultation. Let's elevate your event and light up the stage.
What's up, everybody? Hello, and welcome back into Centex Prime Time. I am your host, Jalen Gillis, getting ready to take you through the prime time topics in sports, not just here in the Central Texas area, but from all around the nation. We want to thank everybody for tuning in with us here today on July 1st. Can't believe we made it all the way to July. Seems like this year is just flying by. But when you step outside, the heat lets you know that it is definitely July 1st. I want to thank everybody for tuning in with us here on Centex Primetime. Whether you're watching with us on YouTube, Centex Sports Network / Centex Sports TV over on YouTube, or if you're watching with us on Facebook or our website, CentexSportsNetwork.com. We want to thank you guys for tuning in with us. Also, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you are watching with us. Subscribe, like, and share this stream, as we got plenty to talk about today. NBA news is going crazy right now. NBA free agency started last night as we were on the show. About 6 o'clock free agency started, and it's already going crazy. We got to talk about that. The NFL has a few moves that they're doing as everybody's getting ready for training camp. We'll talk a little bit of local topics, as yesterday we had one of the top prospects here in the Waco area come on the show with us for a little bit. And also, we'll talk about some quick takes and some things going on around the world of sports here today on Centex Primetime. So stay tuned and lock in with us, folks, as we get ready to go through these topics. Joining me here in the studio, man is here with us every Tuesday. Everybody in Waco knows him, Mr. Rocky Miller in the building with us. Rocky, what's going on?
What's up, Jalen, man? You know I love coming in with you. This is the highlight of my week. Normally, my routine is on Monday, I get to watch you and Wayne go at it.
Yeah.
On Monday, while I'm on the treadmill, out of breath, I'm watching, and I'm arguing with you guys on the treadmill. I imagine the people at the fitness center, they wonder who I'm talking to. I'm just talking to y'all, and y'all can't even hear me. But yeah, man. So I look forward to coming in here every Tuesday, man. And again today, HBCU Coaches Corner is on hiatus, so I don't have a show today. So this is the only outlet I got to really talk sports this week and probably the next couple weeks. So I look forward to this because, like I say, man, talking sports is one of my favorite things to do. I'm not saying I'm real good at it, but I really enjoy doing it.
No, man. We know your ball knowledge. We've heard you on here. Yeah. Folks, we're going to jump right into it. NBA free agency, like I said, started last night. Even deals as we speak are still being made. The draft was last week. Feel like it kind of just flies by. As soon as the NBA Finals is over, we get to draft and free agency back to back. They didn't really give us any time to let up for the NBA season. But the offseason has started and in full effect. One of the biggest moves that we've seen so far, Damian Lillard gets waived by the Milwaukee Bucks, even though he has over $100+ million left on his 2-year deal. Was waived by the Bucks. They have extended that. Instead of getting a $50 million $55 million, I believe, cap hit this year. They have extended that after waiving him, and they're going to get a around $23 million cap hit for the next 5 years. It's how they extended this out. Different people have had different opinions. We all know that Damian Lillard tore his Achilles last year, second game of the playoffs. So he's pretty much going to miss this entire year, especially now we're not even having a home being waived. I'm interested to see, will somebody pick him up early? Will they just kind of let this thing wait out after a year and see where he decides to go? But he gets waived by the Bucks. Giannis supposedly not pleased with it. He made some posts on Instagram, not exactly sure what their posts mean. He made a post and there's a picture that says, "I don't know what's going on right now." And he put mood with the 100 emoji. Everybody's saying that means he's not pleased. I don't know what that means. But, Giannis, he was in the headlines probably a month ago saying that potentially he could ask for a trade. Didn't come out and ask for a trade outright. He could potentially ask for a trade. He hasn't said anything else, hasn't even really posted anything else, has stayed out the way. The Bucks tried to make some moves. They waived Damian Lillard. And that's kind of a necessary thing they had to do because you don't want to pay a guy $55 million that's not even going to play this year. And it freed up close to $30 million for the cap hit just this year alone for them to try to go and get some help. I think the Bucks are doomed either way because I'm not really a fan of their roster, the guys they have around them. I think they added some decent pieces here and there, but not a championship contending roster in my opinion. Rocky, what do you think when you've seen the news about Damian Lillard getting waived with 2 years left on the deal?
So I think this is simply what's going on. They brought Damian Lillard to the Milwaukee Bucks at Giannis's request. Giannis has been non-committal to the Bucks. The Bucks see that as somewhat of a betrayal. So they're showing him who's actually in power by cutting his guy.
Yeah.
Under normal circumstances, I would say cutting a guy injured is dirty business. But in this situation, since NBA contracts are guaranteed, he only has 2 years left. He's an aging player. He's going to get all his bread. So I don't see this as dirty business. This is just, and if they can get a cap hit reduction in this year, I think it allows the team to have some flexibility with bringing some players on. Also with the situation with Giannis probably looking at greener pastures, I think the Milwaukee Bucks is looking at this year as an opportunity to have a hard reset. And remember, A.J. DeBonsa is going to be in the draft next year, who is expected to be a generational talent. So if they can get their hands on a player like that without any option to go anywhere else, that's something they could benefit from. Again, because I think as a franchise, you have to look down the road. You have to look past the playing time of your stars, and sometimes you have to really maybe let those stars go, so that your franchise can move on.
Sure.
Again, Giannis is going to be okay. Damian Lillard, even though he's injured, I'm sure the $100 million that he has left on his contract can comfort any injury. He'll be able to seek out whatever. He probably already had surgery, and any rehab program that's available to him, I'm sure he can use his own finances to do so. One of the things I always hate about cutting a player while he's injured is that he loses access to the medical facilities of the team and things of that nature. He has to rehab on his own or whatever. But in this situation, I'm sure with $100 million, he can find ample rehab options.
And I think I think he's been on the West Coast this whole time rehabbing anyway. He's a West Coast guy, never even lived on the East Coast. Not sure he wanted to stay in Milwaukee anyway while he was doing his rehab. A lot of guys, have their own personal guys that they go and rehab with. But like you said, usually this is a deal where, like, man, you cutting a guy while he's down and while he's hurt. Damian Lillard, we were talking off camera before we started about James Harden and his career earnings. Damian Lillard is a guy that's up there too, probably near $500 million in career earnings. Him and Bradley Beal got a lot of money out of those small market teams those few years that they were there. So the money side, he'll be fine. Damian Lillard, I mean, I hate it because he's kind of in a transition. Last year, he was battling a lot. He came into the season with a lot going on. He was going through a divorce and a lot of other things. He even said it kind of affected him playing somewhat. It was his first time he's not with his family 24/7 going into a season. Then he has the blood clot issue, has to miss about a month or so. Comes back from the blood clot issue, plays one game, and tears his Achilles. So a tough year all in all for Damian Lillard. Now getting released, being cut for the first time in his career, and he's 33, 34, somewhere within there. What does this deal mean for the Milwaukee Bucks moving forward? Like you said, I think this is kind of a necessary thing that had to happen here. If you're trying to compete, the East is completely and totally wide open next year. That's the thing that makes this year's free agency so interesting is I have to pay attention to even the little pickups from certain teams in the East that could be contenders. We don't know who's coming out. Nobody had the Pacers coming out last year, and they got all the way to the finals. And then their star tears his Achilles, so they're not going to be back. The Boston Celtics look like they were building a super team. They've had to trade players, and their star player is torn his Achilles. So who is coming out of the East? The Knicks don't even have a coach. I guess they would be the next guys up. They don't even have a coach right now. So the East is wide open to everybody. Milwaukee knows that. Can they build a team around him to sustain some success? That's the part I'm not sure about because, one, I feel like they haven't been able to do it outside of Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton. But after they got rid of Drew, I feel like they haven't built a championship contending team yet since they've been there. They still got Doc Rivers as their coach. As y'all know that watched the show with me, not a huge fan of that. But they made some moves. They signed Miles Turner from the Indiana Pacers. Kind of a guy that does some similar things as Brook Lopez, can stretch the floor, shoot the three, can block shots. Do you think that's a move for Milwaukee that can help them, I don't know, I don't necessarily want to say get over the hump because they haven't got the first round in 4 or 5 years. But is that a move building in the right direction if you're a team that's trying to keep Giannis, signing the Miles Turner to a $104 million deal, I believe?
Man, I just think when you're in that situation, and he re-signed with the Indiana Pacers?
No, with the Bucks. Miles Turner signed 4-year, 107 with Milwaukee.
Well, this is what I think about that. They have to field the team whether Giannis is there or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're kind of hedging their bets.
Mm-hmm.
They can't have what will you draw in Milwaukee if you have a G League caliber team?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to go with legitimately NBA players. And I think, in the East, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you can put together a formidable team filled with role players and maybe one transcendent player,
yeah,
you have a chance. And, like I say, the trade, I look at this a lot of ways. Like, not that this is an option, but I just look at it like this. Milwaukee is a place, I think, where if you were looking to move Ja Morant and you need to put him somewhere in a better situation for the NBA, better situation for whatever, you could trade him. You could trade him, get him out of Memphis, and get him out that situation, and then Memphis gets to have a hard reset because they've already traded Bane. You know what I mean? And so now you're looking at them potentially having a hard reset. So I think there are some options out there for a team like Milwaukee because there are players that potentially could be moved and they could make a play. If they get a guy like a Ja Morant, then they can, they're not that far away. That's a beautiful thing about the East. With Halliburton being on the shelf, Tatum being on the shelf, Miami being in disarray. There are chances out there. There are opportunities for someone to step up. I think if you have to really look at it, I don't think unless the Knicks add a piece, I don't think they're going to be much better than they were last year. And you saw that they were good in the regular season. They were able to make some hay. But it didn't every series they in go 7.
Yeah, just about. Won 6 with the Knicks, 6 against the Celtics.
Yeah.
6 against the Indiana Pacers, where they ended up losing.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that they're not a dominant team, so the Knicks are prime for the picking. And right now, you would have to say, coming into this next season, the Knicks are the favorite considering the injuries that are out there.
Yeah, you have to.
Could you, with the players available, put together a team that can compete with the Knicks in the East? Absolutely. So I think as much as Milwaukee may be headed toward a hard reset, if they make the right deal, they can be right back in the mix.
No, that is true. I agree with that. With how wide open the East is, every team, like 2 through 10, is one move away from being Eastern Conference champions, because the Pacers weren't, like I said, they weren't the top dog coming out, and we saw what they were able to do just based off of style of play and depth. Now we're looking at teams trying to build depth. They want you have to be able to go 10, 11 guys deep. The Knicks are the favorite, in my opinion, coming out of the East just for right now. We don't know what this is going to look like. They don't even have a coach. I like the fact they got a guy that I said they should have gotten a trade deadline last year. They signed him just yesterday, and that's Jordan Clarkson. They needed a guy that gives you instant offense off of the bench. That was one of their biggest problems when Jalen Brunson went to the bench. They didn't even have a direction on where they wanted to go and how they wanted to score. Now, their defensive problems, that has to be solved with coaching, in my opinion. They got to figure out how to make that stuff work. But no one in the East is scary like that. I mean, the Hawks made a couple of pickup moves, and I'm like, okay, we got to even look at a team like the Hawks. The Pistons have made some decent moves. They just signed Duncan Robinson to a $50 million deal now that Malik Beasley is probably going to be gone for gambling again, which is just crazy. But losing him, who was a big part of their team last year, they signed Karis LeVert. Then they go back and sign Duncan Robinson to fill in those shooter roles. So I like what a couple of these teams in the East are doing. Milwaukee is going to be an interesting one because Giannis, like I said, he came out and said he would be open to the idea of a trade. Never asked for a trade. Now we see this with Damian Lillard happen. Now they re-sign Kevin Porter Jr. They lose Brook Lopez, but they sign Miles Turner. Interesting to see what Giannis is going to decide. Will he say, hey, I'll go ahead and just stay here and compete in the East? Because nobody's looking to go to the West right now. The West is going to be a buzzsaw next year, probably about 10 deep with teams that can actually compete and do something within the West. So the Giannis and the Bucks right now supposedly unhappy after the Damian Lillard trade or the waiving of Damian Lillard. Dame, like we said, I think as long as he gets healthy, he'll be fine. Some people were saying, is he contemplating retirement? I'm not sure if he's at that point yet, but he has plenty of money to sit on for the next 5 years now, where he's going to be getting paid by the Milwaukee Bucks, whatever team he goes to. And we've seen this in the past before with other players. I remember at Gilbert Arenas until like 2014 or 15 was one of the highest paid players in the league, even though he was out the league in 2010, because they had to cancel out his contract and stretch his contract out. So we'll see what they have going. One of the teams that everybody's been looking to see, what are they going to do in free agency, what moves are going to be made, the Los Angeles Lakers. They have had, in my opinion, a very, very underwhelming first day in free agency. Yesterday, me and Wayne were on here, and as we were talking, we're just scratching different guys off the list that we know the Lakers were going after, Brook Lopez being one of them. He signs right in L.A., comes back to Southern California, but he just goes to the Clippers. We look at a Clint Capella they were going after. He signs with the Rockets. All these different guys that they were looking at trying to get on cheap deals to bring in ended up going somewhere. Even Luke Cornett, he was being linked to them after he had a pretty decent series with the Celtics last year. He ends up signing a 4-year, $41 million deal to go to the Spurs. So they lost out on almost every big that they were going after, and somehow they found time to sign Jake LaRavia on a 2-year deal, $12 million, who's like a 6'8" power forward that shoots threes. Not exactly what they were looking for. They miss out on the most important player they had in free agency, which is Dorian Finney-Smith. He's gone. He heads down to the Houston Rockets. What do the Lakers do from here at this point? Now missing out, striking out on about 4 or 5 guys. What direction do they need to turn at this point to try to turn this around?
Well, I think they can have a pretty – now, this is just my opinion. I think they have a pretty good roster in place. They need just a few pieces. And if I were to just, look at it, they need a big, no doubt. They need a big. Somebody that can help deal with that bad man that's in Denver.
Yeah, definitely.
But Brook Lopez, how, does he make you a better team? That's what I look at. And do you want to pay that kind of money to a Brook Lopez? Again,
like 37 at this point, yeah.
Yeah, I would look like this. When you have your starting five pretty much back, right? And I say their starting five is LeBron, Luka, Hachimura, Reeves, and probably Gabe Vincent, or I would probably say Vando.
Yeah,
I would say Vando, and Gabe or Vando, depending on who coming off the bench. I really think they just need to make one big man, one move.
And that's for a big.
Yeah, and I thought that one of the guys from Dallas was going to be a free agent, if I'm not mistaken.
No, Gafford's still there on the deal. Lively's still on his rookie contract.
Okay.
Both of those guys are still there. But they need somebody like that. Luka has proven we've seen what he can do with an offense as long as he has a rim running big. It doesn't even have to be a guy that comes in and is, a star player. I think right now they have to go full-fledged, all focus on going to get DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton was waived by the Portland Trail Blazers a couple of days ago. He's another guy that's gonna get paid, so you don't have to pay him a bunch of money because he's already getting paid by the Blazers.
Oh man, that would be nice.
You have to go in and get a guy like you. I don't know where he's at. I don't know if he's back home in the Bahamas. You have to go wherever he is. Put Rob.
And if he's from the Bahamas, he's a Laker fan.
Yeah, he's got to be.
Yeah, they're a Laker. I've been to Bahamas several times. They love the Lakers. That's like their home team. So
he went to Arizona, right down the street from Los Angeles. He went to Arizona in college. Got drafted by the Phoenix Suns. He spent basically his whole career on the West Coast, and now he's in the Pacific West, being in Portland. But they waive him. He's got to be the two biggest free agents I think they need are DeAndre Ayton and a Chris Paul. Chris Paul probably his last year on a contract. Somebody that can run an offense if Luka or LeBron James is not on the court. Because as of right now, they have a lot of guys that can just stand in the corner and wait for Luka or LeBron to pass them the ball. Outside of Austin Reeves somewhat. You bring in Chris Paul. I think they need Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and one more wing that can play defense. That could be Vando, but that he never plays. I can't. If I'm a Lakers fan, I can't trust Vando. He's been there for 2 or 3 years, and he's played. He's missed 60 to 70%.
To me, Vando's going to be there. He's got 3 more years left on his deal.
Yeah, he does.
He's going to be there. The guy that you could use for trade capital to get somebody is Rui. But my point is, if you give up Rui, are you going to get a player that's comparable in return?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the guy I think that they can use to really get somebody, and I think ultimately you can trade him away and become a better team. And I think that's Austin Reeves. Because I think what he does, he's a player that duplicates what Luka does and duplicates what LeBron does, right?
Yep.
And if you get Chris Paul, like you said, you certainly can deal Austin Reeves and have a similar player, right, under contract. Reeves has 2 more years left on his deal. He has this year and the next. And I think that's attractive to some teams.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you could get a guy that's approaching his prime and that will always, in my opinion, be a second at best. And I think he can be a 3rd or 4th on a championship level team.
Yeah, I think, and then you got to strike while the iron is hot. While he's getting all of these career highs, this is the time to trade Austin Reeves because he's not going to bring you what you need defensively. Somebody in that backcourt has to play defense. A starting backcourt of Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic will not win you a championship because we're just going to pick on them the entire game. We're not even going to look LeBron's way. We're not even going to look at Vando, any of those other guys that play defense. We're just going to attack Luka and Austin Reeves for the entire game. Somebody in that backcourt has to play defense, in my opinion. They need somebody that can, like you said, facilitate like a Chris Paul if they get rid of Austin Reeves. But I'm like you. Austin Reeves is your best trading chip to go and get a legit big man. If you trade Austin Reeves, now you can get somebody that can really, really contribute because there are a lot of teams that could use a Austin Reeves on their team, a secondary ball handler, somebody like that. So I'm agreeing with you. I think the Lakers got to go and trade him.
Let me ask you this: Could you potentially trade now if you were a team like Golden State? Could you trade Reeves for Kuminga?
Yeah, I know they would take that. I know the Warriors would take that. How much better does that make the Lakers? Because
in the short term, I don't think it makes you better. But you have a player that could spell LeBron if LeBron moves on. You got a guy who sits in a position primed to be the same kind of player who could learn under Luka and this, that, and the other. I just for whatever reason, I don't think the guy has much of a future in Golden State.
Yeah, no, his career in Golden State is just about done, I think. I think they need to move on from Kuminga. I think all parties want to move on. For some reason, they didn't want to play. I don't know. I know for the reason because it's a contract year. They didn't even want to play him. Once stuff like that happens within the organization, the relationship is soured and it's time to just cut ties and both sides go different ways. When you're to the point of not playing a guy so he can't get numbers, so he can't ask for a certain number in the offseason. That's what they were doing last season, especially as it got to they're in the playoffs game losing and putting in Cam Spencer, who looked like he's got a job at Amazon, and they decided to get him off Amazon and come play for him. And then you're not getting Kuminga, who was a top 5 pick in the draft. I think that's a good trade for them. I don't know if exactly they would do that because I don't know if Golden State wants to make the Lakers better. I don't know if the Lakers want to help Golden State in any way. But Austin Reeves has got to be that trading piece to get him gone. If not, all the speculation is going to start to seep in of, is this LeBron's last year? Is this his last year with the Lakers? Is he going to ask for a trade before the season even starts? So I don't know. There's a lot of questions they have to get answered. Rob Pelinka, you just got a contract extension. It's time to go out there and earn some of that money, man. You got to they gave you that extension because somebody handed you Luka and they told you good job and you really didn't do anything but answer the phone. Now you got to go out there and earn your money if you Rob Pelinka. You got to find a way to put a team together around LeBron and Luka. Right now, you're doing an absolutely horrible job. Could that change if you get DeAndre Ayton and maybe a couple other pieces? Yeah, that could. If you get rid of Max Kleber, certain contracts they got to get off. Max Kleber's got to get off the books. Gabe Vincent has to get off the like those are players that have to get off of your books. Gabe Vincent can't be making $13 million to average 2 points a game. Like that can't happen. He's got to go. Max Kleber doesn't even play, and then they had the nerve to try to put him in the last playoff game. He don't even play. Those guys got to get off the books, and you got to be able to fill those spots with guys that can actually come out there and play. No, I don't think Bronny's going to be in the rotation next year. For all the people that, well, what if they just have Bronny play backup point? Let's not even get started on that. Let's just let Bronny stay in the G League, try to get a little bit better before they start deciding that. Another team in the West has been making some noise. Really, two teams in the West. One of them being the Houston Rockets, and one of them being the Denver Nuggets. I think the Denver Nuggets have had quietly one of the best offseasons so far. They trade Michael Porter Jr. to pick up a Cam Johnson, which I thought was a phenomenal trade. Michael Porter Jr. may be the most overhyped and overpaid player in the entire NBA. A guy that's 6'10", that can only shoot corner threes. Never made sense to me. They trade him, pick up Cam Johnson, a guy that's a little bit better defender, a guy that shoots better than Michael Porter Jr., around the same height, and can fit in with the team nice. They just traded for Jonas Valanciunas off of the Sacramento Kings to give them another big that can come in and give you the same, not the same production, but can give you the same type of role to fill in whenever Jokic is coming off the bench. I think that was huge for them. I like the deals that they're making, and then most of all going and getting Bruce Brown back, who was an integral part of their championship roster in 2023 whenever they were able to win. What do you think about the Nuggets move so far and some of the guys that they went out there and got?
Like I said, I think they're trying to rebuild what they had before those players like Bruce Brown and KCP left.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? What they're realizing is that they're going to be able to play with anybody offensively.
Mm-hmm.
Their biggest struggle is going to be guarding wing defenders, because though Michael Porter Jr. is a tremendous player, Aaron Gordon, who's injured now, is also a tremendous player. They never were guys that you would say were in what I would consider above average defenders. Neither one of them.
Yeah.
And so with those guys not being above average defenders, then you leave Jokic being a less than average defender, a below average defender. Then you certainly have Murray being a below average defender.
A lot of cones
and then,
out there on defense.
Yeah. And so then you end up having to outscore everybody. Jokic can't have an off night. Murray can't have an off night. And I think that's what kind of got the best of them in the playoffs is I thought they played hard, and I thought they played well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that they couldn't when it was time for them to get stops, they just weren't able to.
Yeah, they couldn't stop anybody. That's why I thought they were going to lose to the Clippers in the first round because they just couldn't stop those first 3 games. They couldn't stop anybody. They couldn't stop James. They couldn't stop Kawhi. Jokic ended up taking over at the end of that series and just doing what Jokic does. But in the Oklahoma City series, if they have one guy that can play some defense on that team, I think they win. I think they win that series, and we don't even have OKC as the champs going into it. They go to a Game 7. Aaron Gordon, who was averaging 20 and 10, gets hurt and tears his hamstring off the bone. He's not even able to play. And then you're left out there with Murray, who's also, he won a championship there, and they love him and all that. But, I'm not a fan of the Supermax guys that can't even make an All-NBA team, don't make all-star teams. No, and that's Jamal Murray. And I think he has his moments in the playoffs. I don't think he is he's not a true number 2 in my opinion. On any other team, if Jamal Murray was there, they don't win the championship if he's your number 2. It worked with Jokic, but Jokic is getting like 30, 20, and 15. So, yeah, Jamal Murray's 25 is going to help out with that. They have to make some decisions with him, but getting Bruce Brown definitely helps defensively. Getting Jonas Valanciunas is huge because they haven't had a backup center in this entire Jokic era or run that we've seen with them. They've never had a backup center. Most of the time, they're playing Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon at backup center. So getting a true backup center, I think, helps them a lot. And the Nuggets have made some really important moves going forward so far in this offseason. The Clippers made a couple of moves. They signed a Brook Lopez, giving them some more depth off the bench. They give James Harden, hey, man, James, money-making James, he picks up another 2-year, $80 million deal to cash back into the bank. The health of Kawhi is always a question. I think they should do every year they should do like they did him last year and just don't even come to play until February. Because if we start you off in October, there's no way you're going to make it till April. So just don't even come to work until February, and then we'll go from there. Different teams in the West trying to position themselves. Obviously, my Houston Rockets are sitting right at the top of all of this, I think, as far as free agent moves. They trade for Kevin Durant, but they don't stop there. Yesterday, they extend Fred VanVleet, give him an extension. They extend Jabari Smith Jr., give him an extension. They extend Steven Adams, gives him an extension. Ime Udoka signs an extension. They go back out, sign Dorian Finney-Smith to a 4-year, $53 million deal, get Clint Capella in on a very, very cheap deal. That's why I know that was probably one of the biggest misses for the Lakers, seeing what Clint Capella signed for, only $7 million a year. I mean, that's a couple of million above the vet minimum. And we get him on a 3-year deal for $21 million, a huge pickup to sign. What do you think about the moves so far that the Rockets have made, starting from the KD trade all the way up until now, really?
First off, just looking at their roster, they definitely had some. They were a very young team, but they had some roster spots that they had to fill.
Yeah.
So, and it looks like after playing a year, really as a very young, inexperienced team, Ime Udoka is looking for experience right now.
Yes.
Yes. And so he brought in Capella, he brought in KD, and I wouldn't surprise if he brought in a Chris Paul or somebody like that, as well. Because you got to remember, they had a really good, what I thought was a decent playoff run, but at the end of the day, some of their best players, some of their best young players just didn't show up in the playoffs. And it really, because of that didn't give them a chance to win. And so I don't think Udoka and the management of the Houston Rockets are ever going to have that situation again like that.
No.
They're not going to take a number 3, a number 2, or number 3 seed is what they had.
Yeah, the number 2 seed in the West.
Yeah, and then just unravel like that in the playoffs and really have a
star player goes, under single digits. I mean, in single digits, 5 out of the 7 games, the playoffs. Some definite changes had to be made, and a lot of guys say, "Well, you don't give up on a Jalen Green. He's so young. He's got so much talent and potential. Potential only gets you so far. And if you're a team like the Rockets that are ready to win after last year showing what I think if Jalen Green just averages 18 points, I think they smoke the Warriors, and the Warriors might not win a game.
But what I say about that is, it's not that he had a bad game. It's that he had single digits
in 5 out of
7 games.
Yeah.
You have to reevaluate who that player is and what he can be at that point.
Yeah.
I know it was his first playoff appearance, but at the end of the day, he underperformed horribly, and we seen this really unravel a career. Before, and so he's going over to Phoenix, play with another superstar, Devin Booker. He'll get another chance. And I think if you get to unload a guy that you're not sure about, anytime you get to unload a guy like that and pick up a guy like a Kevin Durant, it's a win-win. For I don't know forever how long you have Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
You know what the easy money sniper is.
We know exactly what he can do.
Yeah. And so when the clock is winding down, when when things get tough, you know exactly what he's going to do.
Half-court scoring in the playoffs is the reason why the Rockets lost. They addressed that. They just added and bolstered their defense to what was already a top 5 defensive team, in my opinion, in the league. They add in more defense with Dorian Finney-Smith. They lost Dylan Brooks. They replaced him with a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith, which I think was a really good replacement. Mm-hmm. They add more size and depth with Clint Capella. And like you said, they might not be done in adding guys because the two teams that just went to the finals just showed us all this super team stuff is over with. Get you a star, and you need to be able to play about 10 or 11 guys deep after that. Because if you look at the Thunder, the Thunder is almost an anomaly because they have 3 guys that can become a star, but they only have one true star, and that's SGA. And they filled in the roster with a lot of great guys.
Here's what I'll say. I'm gonna make a. I don't think that the age of the super team is over.
Okay.
But I think you're gonna have to really be strategic as a franchise if you're gonna get 3 top players in their prime. Mm. It may not. I don't think it'll be a free agent move either way. I think if you draft well and also sign free agents, you can put together.
Yeah.
Because I believe if you take the defending champs, Jalen Williams certainly could be a second team all NBA player.
Yeah,
of course,
he already was.
SGA is a first team. And then I think, and I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that a Chet Holmgren could develop into a third team all NBA player. So, and I think that's they're not a super team because those guys aren't good. They're not a super team because those guys aren't household names in the realm of the NBA. But if you look at their production and what can be their production, they definitely can evolve and shape themselves into a super team caliber team. But you won't be able to have three NBA free agents
pick
team
a destination,
up, pick a destination. I think the NBA has always resented that when that happened in 2009, if I'm not mistaken.
2010, yeah.
2010.
Summer of 2010.
The summer of 2010, they resented that. That was the players determining the competitive balance of the league and tilting it in whatever way they wanted to. That wasn't what pro sports was ever about.
Yeah.
In America, it was about the teams, the owners deciding how they were
who's gonna win the championship.
They were gonna use it by using their own will and with holding rights over players. But again, it turned out that players signed and I want to say in 2007 they all signed 3-year deals where they all would be up at the same time, and that kind of set in motion what would later become the super team era.
Yep.
Which could be over, but I'm not so sure considering what OKC has, what they're on the brink of having.
Yeah, they have what you would consider to be right now a super team. If you got 2 guys that make All NBA, and then a Chet Holmgren who's right up there for top players under 22, 23 years old in the making, and then you've got 15 first-round picks over the next 5 years. Yeah, that could be considered a super team.
Yeah, and when I wanted to mention about Chet Holmgren, where is he? I know he was drafted 3 years ago, but where does he rank among the players that were drafted? He's probably one of the top players.
Oh yeah, out of that draft for sure.
Who are playing really well out of that draft. So again, if that happens to you year in, year out, then you could form a super team. You just won't be formed the way that traditionally.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the biggest. It'll just look different than what it's used to being. It's not going to be like you said, 3 guys coming somewhere, or even a KD going to the Warriors in 2016. I don't think it'll be anything like that because of this second apron has pretty much forbid that the penalty that you'll get into for even going over into the tax like that. It used to just be the luxury tax, and you got to pay extra money on top, which these owners are rich. They don't care. Now, it's luxury tax. You get penalized. They'll take draft picks. It's a lot of things they're going to do now in the second apron to prevent that happening. So we're going to see more teams that look like the Rockets, more teams that look like the Thunder, more teams that look like the Pacers of last year than we'll see, the Heatles or the Boston Big Three that ended up being the Big Four or the KD Warriors. I don't think we're going to see anything else like that so far. Are there any other teams that you've liked some of the moves that they made so far? It's only the first day of free agency, so still plenty more dominoes to fall, more pieces to be signed, and more guys to be traded, honestly. And we're starting to see the buyout market happening already with Ayton and Jordan Clarkson and different guys getting bought out. One of them that I liked, I said earlier, was the Atlanta Hawks, man. I like what the Atlanta Hawks are doing. They're sneakily just picking up different guys here and there that can contribute to their team in different ways. And with the East being so wide open next year, you want to say, hey, all we need is a couple of guys here and there. They trade and get Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who was a huge piece for the Timberwolves last year in their run to the Western Conference Finals, to add him in. They get a Luke Kennard, bring him in, who's one of the better shooters in the league, to bolster up. They had a good draft pick. They traded and got the Pelicans pick for next year, which could very well be the number one pick in the draft next year, because we all think the Pelicans are going to be trash next year. So I like the moves that the Atlanta Hawks have made so far in this summer to try to not only compete for next year, but setting themselves up even further. And then they get Asa Newell, who was Cooper Flagg's teammate in high school and was one of the top prospects coming out. I was actually surprised that he fell all the way to 23 in the draft for the Hawks to be able to get him. So the Hawks have made some pretty decent moves all in all. Any team that you've liked so far, some of the pickups
I've been watching the team that's close to us. The Mavs. The Mavs hadn't done a lot, but I did like D'Angelo Russell acquisition. I definitely like the price they picked him up at.
Great price.
And because I think ultimately he's a quality player. He's somebody who can really shoot the basketball, and he can be kind of streaky. But as a fill-in for Kyrie, and I think he can be, he can definitely make an impact, and that can keep Dallas viable until Kyrie is able to rejoin the team on the floor.
Yeah, I think that D'Lo pickup was huge for them. It was between him and Chris Paul, I believe, at the guard. They were trying to. I think Ty Jerome was in there running too, but Ty Jerome ended up signing with the Memphis Grizzlies, which I didn't want him to go to the Mavericks anyway, because I don't think Ty Jerome is that good. I think he was just on a good team last year. But they fill in D'Lo, a guy that I was not a fan of whatsoever on the Lakers uniform. But everywhere else he's played, I've been a fan of his. I think it works. What he can do, he can definitely stretch the floor. What they need is playmaking. That's what they're going to need him to do next year. They're going to need playmaking in a bad way next year, because as good as this roster looks for the Mavs, they got a lot of wings, a lot of bigs. They probably got two guys on the team that can dribble. So, they need guys that can shot create for others. Somebody's got to be able to run this pick and roll with Anthony Davis, with Lively, with Cooper Flagg, with Daniel Gafford. I think we're going to see Anthony Davis handling the ball more than he's ever had in his entire career in this upcoming season. But that D'Lo pickup was definitely big for them, because they need somebody. Right now they're saying that Kyrie won't be back until around January or February after tearing that ACL.
I'm also looking to see if they're going to be able to retain the services of Spencer Dinwiddie, because I think he can also help.
Yeah, he's a free agent right now. Yeah, hadn't signed anywhere.
Yeah.
That'll be huge for him, because Spencer Dinwiddie played really, really well. He's played his best basketball in his entire career in the Mavericks. I don't know. He's one of those guys that ended up back on the Mavericks.
He had a good run
in Brooklyn as well. Brooklyn he played good, but he's one of those guys that keep ending up back on the Mavs. I'm interested to see where will he go in his moves. That DeAndre Ayton piece is going to be one of the big pillars that kind of fall to let us know if he goes somewhere and just signs for a bunch of money, it's not really going to mean anything. But if he signs to a team that we consider to be contenders, like the Lakers, or what if the Bucks get their hands on him? What if the Knicks ended up using him? There's different teams that he can go to that can kind of shift some balance of power. So I think that's going to be a huge piece. One more on NBA free agency. SGA signs a well-deserved, much-deserved, record-breaking extension, the richest annual salary in NBA history, as he signs a 4-year, $285 million contract. 4 years for $285 is what he signed, the biggest deal in NBA history. Well-deserved after being one of the only players to win MVP, Finals MVP, win the championship, and lead the league in scoring. A well-deserved extension for SGA. What do you think about this extension that the Thunder signed? And does that change any way that they approach free agency, or maybe their team going forward after signing a record-breaking deal like this?
No, as long as SGA continues to perform at the level he does, it'll be it's money well spent. Mm-hmm. When you think about it, let's think about this. I want to say 4 years ago maybe, Ja Morant signed an extension, which we thought was a great value, and his extension is $36 million now a year. So when you look at it, that's a bargain.
Yeah.
At the same rate, that means that 4 years into this deal, the max could be 126 a year. You know what I mean? So just think about it. Just think about it. Ja Morant signed a record-breaking deal. I want to say 3 or 4 years ago.
Yep.
And it was $37 million a year, and now we're to SGA, and it's.
I think the last year of his deal, he's going to make like $83 million in that last year of that 4-year extension. Insane.
Yeah.
And that means that somebody by that point is going to be making $100 million a year. And does the NBA have the best contracts? Because at this point, we've gone back and forth of, the MLB, you go there and do this. I think the NBA is, in my opinion, way past the MLB. I think we look at the big numbers of the MLB, and we'll see the Shohei Ohtani signing for $700 million, but then you sign for 10 years. These dudes are going to make – he's going to make $300 million in 4 years.
Well, I think two things make the NBA contracts better. One is they're guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
Two is that they're 82 games, whereas in Major League Baseball there's 160 games. So I think
crazy.
They're suiting it up a little less.
Yeah.
The seasons are a little shorter if you don't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And so I think NBA contracts are much better. What I like to think of is who has the better contracts and what the rank and file players get in the NBA, what the rank and file players get. And on an NBA deal, I think the minimum salary is well over $1 million now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the very minimum you can sign is like $3 million.
Yeah.
$3 million and then the vet minimum is close to $4 or $5 million.
Yeah, yeah. And so when you think about that, NBA, you mean I could go as a journeyman player, I can go sign somewhere and make a couple $1 million, $2-3 million. Come on, man. You can't beat that with a bat. I think Bronny James, the second round draft pick, makes $1.9 million a year. You can't.
Second round.
Yeah, you can't beat that with a bat, man. So,
nah.
So the NBA is a much better deal, but it's a league that's much harder to make. There's only
Absolutely.
450 of those guys, and it's extremely hard league to make. Largely, which determine whether you're going to make that league or not, is your height. You know what I mean? If you're not 6'6", 6'7", or better, nine times out of 10, you're not going to be able to make that league.
Yeah.
And so it's just a harder league to make.
Yeah, it's much harder. Like you said, 450 guys in total. MLB's got all their rosters with the different guys, and they got the 2 minor leagues underneath that they can hold rights to certain players. So it's a lot harder league to make with the NBA, and that's why they
then with
they
the
have to have
influence,
the best contract.
when you talk about now for American-born player, it's harder than it's ever been to make, because not only is it only 450 jobs, right? Now, probably a third of those jobs are foreign players now.
Yeah.
So really, it's about 300 slots for American-born players, and so it's a very difficult league to make. Shout out to those guys that make it. One, our homeboy who just won a world championship with OKC. It's it's less than 1 in a million chance that a kid can make it to the NBA, let alone win a championship. Kenrich Williams is a tremendous
Straight
kid.
out of South Waco, man. It's a great story to see that somebody from our community can make it all the way. And almost surprising that nobody from Waco has won an NBA championship. Somebody from Waco has done almost just a little bit of something. The closest they tried to link to somebody from Waco winning was Vinnie Johnson. I'm like, he just went to college down here. I don't even remember if he ain't nowhere near from Waco. But so shout out to Kenrich for sure.
Yeah. Kenrich he's a good kid. He's in the same class of my youngest son, and he's always been a tremendous athlete. Played running back, wide receiver. He wasn't he probably didn't become a specialist as an athlete until he was past middle school. You know what I mean? So he was an all around athlete. And so it's not surprising that with him ultimately growing to be 6'7", 6'8", that he was able to make it to the NBA, considering his level of athleticism.
Yeah.
And so, but NBA is just hard to make, man. It's just hard, man. How many guys are over 6'6"? I think less than 1% of all men are over 6'6".
For sure.
So when you think about that, being 6'6", you got a chance, and then then you got to develop skill and have physical ability to compete at that level. So it's a really rare situation. There's a lot of 5'10 guys, 5'11 guys in baseball, and even less 5'10, 5'11 guys in football, but there are some. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's like 10 guys under 5'8" in NBA history in the whole 80 years. And most people are under that height. It's definitely just way harder to make it to the league. Shout out Kimrich, like you said, for being able to win that championship. Had his parade on Sunday where it got to inspire some youth.
Yeah, man, we got to celebrate it, man. And the whole city came out, man. That's tremendous. And shout out to him for giving the city of Waco opportunity to celebrate him and celebrate with him, because you know how it is. If one of us win, we all win. Man.
Yeah, absolutely. While we're talking about some local topics there, I want to go over real quick to some local sports. Yesterday had Devontae Kirkland on here yesterday to interview and talk about him signing or committing to Baylor, his time here at university, what that means and all that. He's got an invite to the All-American Navy Bowl. Only a few players have even gotten invite to that All-American Navy Bowl from the city, man. So definitely shout out to him for being able to make that bowl game, man, and showcase his talents and showcasing some more of what Central Texas can offer and what Waco can offer, man. We're putting a few of these guys up there at Baylor. I was talking about Baylor. They have named, or they got a few of their players named on the preseason All-American list, Keaton Thomas being one of them, and the punter also made the list. But they had about 7 or 8 guys that made the All-Big 12 preseason All-American list going forward. So, like I said before, a lot of promise right now going on in Baylor Nation as far as what they expect out of these guys in the season. We got guys on both sides of the ball that made this All-Big 12 team. Big 12, much like the Eastern Conference we were just talking about in the NBA, is wide open. Arizona State won it last year, and they were picked to finish last in the Big 12 last year. They were able to win the Big 12, and I think they got worse than they were last year with losing Cam Scatterbo, who was a big part of their offense. So the Big 12 is wide open. We got the guys like Kansas State that we put up there and the Iowa States and different teams like that. I think Baylor has a chance to be one of those top teams along with Tech and a couple other teams in the Big 12. What do you think about Baylor getting 8 guys named on the All-Big 12 team and then a couple guys that made the All-American team for preseason?
I think that's big, you know, and it gives the fan base hope. But I always, you know, look at this, preseason teams are preseason teams.
Absolutely.
And what I like to look at is how many of those guys and how many other guys are on the after the season is over on the All-American list and on the All Big 12 teams. Like, that's going to tell the truth. Like, I know it's good to talk about preseason teams, but I never put much into it because most of it's dictated by who is returning players, what players played last year, whatever. And we all know with guys transferring in, guys, you know, guys getting to play really early, you know, transcendent players being introduced into certain rosters, whatever. And then just players that last year were just playing behind guys who were really good. You know what I mean? And so with that being said, there are going to be guys that step up that don't have much experience, that don't have much playing time, and they're gonna supersede some of these guys on this preseason list. So again, the guy that I know that's a baller at Baylor is Mr. Washington. The other guy that I know that's a baller at Baylor is Mr. Cameron.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, Josh Cameron.
So you don't have to convince me that those guys can ball. Everybody else, the quarterback, some other guys on defense, they're going to have to prove it to me. I don't have to see nothing else to know that both of those dudes that I just mentioned, they ballers. They can straight, flat out ball.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? My eyes don't lie.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens. Let's tee it up this upcoming season. Again, the beautiful thing about this season at Baylor, we won't have to wait very long to find out if they got anything.
First 2 weeks.
Because they're going to line up on Friday night.
August 29th.
Probably going to be 104 degrees.
Yeah.
They're going to have the Auburn Tigers right there off the Brazos, off MLK and I-35. And you'll find out exactly what the Bears got and how they measure up. Because ultimately, you know, I think what they do in the Big 12 is important. But if you really want to make a statement as a as a team,
Yeah.
go out there and handle Auburn and all of their NIL money.
Yeah, because they pass it a lot.
Yeah, because they passed it
a
out.
lot, yeah.
You know what I mean? And again, my whole deal is what's going to dictate. I think ultimately, and people have always been against buying teams and this, that, and the other. But I think if you don't spend money, your chances to win are both slim and none. And so I'd like to see and understand what Baylor is spending NIL money, because that's going to determine. We found very early.
Yeah,
that's going to determine who plays for championships. Because what two teams spent the most in NIL last year?
Ohio State,
Texas.
And Texas, yeah.
And what two teams play for the championship?
Yeah. Ohio State and Texas was right there in the semifinals.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So that's what's going to determine it. And I think Baylor has to, if Baylor really wants to compete, or any school for that matter, I'm just saying Baylor, because they're here locally, that's going to be the reason why they compete, is because they went out and recruited the best players and got the best players. Now, hopefully the guys that they get that are from this area turn out to be some of the best players in the nation.
Yeah.
But we'll wait and see. And we know with freshman signings in recent history, you have to be a transcendent player to make an impact nowadays as a freshman, because these upperclassmen are transferring in, and they're taking those opportunities. Guys from Division II, Division I AA are transferring in, and they're proving that they can compete at that level. So I have some hope that freshmen can contribute, and I hope that they can. But what you really got to do is make sure that the players that you bring in from the transfer portal can make an impact immediately, because I think that's how ultimately, championships are going to be won. Yeah. It's having a good core of players that you recruited, and then having impact players transfer in.
Yeah, I think that's the only way you can win at this point, because like you said, if you got a freshman that's not playing this freshman year, it's probably a 50% chance that guy is going to transfer away, unless you're an Ohio State or a Georgia, somewhere like that, where not even really Ohio State. Ohio State has a lot of guys that transfer. A team like Georgia that retains a lot of their guys, because they're really just recruiting guys from Georgia. They're really not even recruiting guys from all over the nation like that. Most of their players are going to come from a Georgia. So unless you're like that, man, if you're not playing a freshman in that first year, they're going to leave. Caleb Downs was starting as a freshman at Alabama his freshman year. He transferred, went to Ohio State. So, there's the transfers and guys that you get are going to be a big part of it. I'm like you. It's good that they made the All Big 12 team, but we're not going to know what happens until they go out there August 29th. It will be 100-plus degrees as they go out there and play against Auburn. And if they can go out there and play against Auburn and really handle them, then from there we start to build this hype train of the Baylor Bears and what can Sawyer Robinson and all these guys do on their team. We took their former 4- or 5-star quarterback in Walker White, who transferred over from Auburn this year. He's supposed to be the guy that takes over for Sawyer Robinson after he graduates this year. So we'll see how all of those things play out. Like you said, they spend a bunch of money in NIL. So I'm not expecting Auburn to come. Auburn's not thinking about losing, coming down here August 29th on that Friday. They're thinking about starting their season off so they can get back to going to playing in the SEC and getting a W. So Baylor's got to come out, and then they got SMU week 2. So they got a tough first 2 weeks to even start this thing off. But I'm excited to see what the Baylor Bears could do, man. And shout out to those guys that made that preseason All-American team. I want to go over to some quick takes here while we got some time left on the show. First off, I asked Wayne this yesterday. I'm asking everybody this week, man, your 4th of July traditions, man. What are those things, the must-haves, to make a 4th of July? Wayne said yesterday, and I definitely agree with his number 1, and it's the barbecue. That's got to be first on the list. Before we can get anything else decided on what we're going to do, if we're going to watch the fireworks or if we're going to pop them ourselves, somebody got to get on that grill, or we got to find somebody that's got the grill and go over there and get the food from those guys. But what are some of your must-haves and traditions of 4th of July?
I got to have some air conditioning.
Okay,
you know what I mean? Yeah, I got to have some air conditioning. I can't be sitting outside all day in the sun. I got to have some air conditioning. I can go outside, I can man the grill or whatever, but I got to have a place to cool off.
To come back
into.
Yeah,
because, you can't do 10 hours in July outside in Texas, The other thing for me, I got to have a cigar. I got to sit back and have me a cigar probably early in the morning or late at night.
Yeah.
I'm not smoking out
Yeah.
in that hot sun. So
Yeah.
that's another thing. But you know me, I like. I'm definitely gonna have some barbecue because I love barbecue. But I also like that potato salad, man. I like. I love that potato salad. That's one of my favorites.
One of the go-tos.
Yeah, and I also like those deviled eggs, man. Those deviled eggs, anytime I get a hold of some good deviled eggs, I appreciate that. And then I can even do if we're not gonna do barbecue on 4th of July, I like a good old grilled steak too. Steak on that open fire grill.
I thought you were gonna go seafood. I see some people switch it up and do the seafood now.
Oh, they get real different.
4th.
Yeah, some people just get real different, man. They just do that. Now, and that's it, man. I like I said, I'm pretty traditional when it comes to it. Got to give me some barbecue. Got to give me some potato salad. I never been big on desserts for 4th of July. But I know a lot of people like hot dogs, hamburgers. I'm not really
real
big.
American.
Yeah. I'm not really
hot dog.
Now I do usually get up and watch old Jimmy Chestnut.
Yeah, Joey Chestnut. I was just gonna ask,
Jimmy.
do you watch
Yeah. But
hot
I
dog
watch it
he's
until
got
he make me sick. I can watch about 3 or 4 minutes of it, and then
I just want to see who wins. I can't watch him do it, man. When I seen this dude dipping the hot dog in the water,
man,
I said, "Oh, this guy's different, man. He could be inspired."
That just goes to show.
Anything.
I want to use this. I want to tell all you children out there. This is my camera right there, camera number one.
Right
I want to tell you kids out there. If you just got to keep trying and find your talent. Like all of y'all got some talent in life, right? You never know what you're blessed with, right? You took this guy who weighs 180 pounds about soaking wet, and he is the food eating champion of the world. He just kept trying. Have you ever asked yourself this, Jalen? How did Joey Chestnut knew that he could eat more hamburgers and hot dogs than anybody else in the world? What made him try that, man? He must have failed at a lot.
I wonder what makes you get into this. You're like, hey, you know what, Mama? I think I'm gonna change it up a little bit this year. I'm gonna go into hot dog eating, and that's what I'm gonna do to support my family.
Yeah, he passed up. How bad did you have to be at basketball and football?
That jumper got to be tough.
Yeah. Before you decide, I'm gonna be the eating champion of the world.
I don't want to know what happened to you that made you discover that this was your talent, and I hope that nobody else goes through whatever he went through to discover that his talent was eating 70 weenies at a time.
I mean, I think he got the wing record and the
man, that dude's
hot dog record. Man, he's amazing.
Need to study his brain.
I want to say he's an amazing athlete, but I'm not sure he is. So he's an amazing eater.
Yeah. Because I don't know if that's athletic. If that's athleticism, then it's some other athletes out there that y'all see on 4th of July too. Then if that's athleticism, but yeah, shout out to Joey Chestnut. He's pretty much become a part of the 4th of July. When I turn on ESPN, that's the first thing that's going to be on by the time I see what's going on throughout the day.
You know the other thing that makes 4th of July kind of a different kind of day. It's one of the main. Follow me here. Mm-hmm. It's one of the main days in America that is a big holiday that a sport isn't tied to.
Yeah. Because they
got like everything else, every other big holiday, Labor Day, there's football tied to it. Thanksgiving, there's football tied to it. Christmas Day, used to be basketball. Now there's basketball and football. You know what I mean? So all these holidays, like 4th of July, there's not really a holiday that's tied to it. I mean, a sport that's tied to that holiday, and I'm sad about that. What sport could we put on?
They got baseball, but I don't want to watch that.
But
it's not like the premier game of the year, Yankees Dodgers on 4th of July. It's nothing like that. It's just Phillies versus Braves or something random on. Man, I'm not gonna watch any of that. The 4th of July, I probably spend the most time not watching any sport, like you said, and I'm not finna sit there and watch baseball. I could think of at least 10 things to do besides. I might even watch old Joey Chestnut scarf down 76 hot dogs in 10 minutes is what they're telling me was his record. That is absolutely diabolical. That's one of the nastiest things.
Yeah, I can get through about 3 minutes of it, and then I have to change the channel because it's
dipping the hot dog in the water, man. Like, have y'all seen that? That is disgusting. Well, I don't even want to know what the porta potties is like after that. That's behind those guys. It's got to be a wild situation, though. 76, does it take you like a day to recover? I've never watched any of his interviews to see, like, how does he recover from shoving 76 weenies like that. Come on, man. That's just crazy, man. Shout out to Joey Chestnut and what he's able to accomplish. Safe to say, your record's safe, bro. No one's going to eat 76 hot dogs in 10 minutes.
I'm not touching it.
No one's going to do that on the 4th, man. But, yeah, I like those just regular 4th of July tradition, man. It's the barbecue, the fireworks show, the regular stuff like that, man. I'll find somewhere to park and let my son see the fireworks and stuff like that for this 4th of July like I did last year. Jumping over to some quick takes before we jump to some football, because there's been a couple of movements in football that kind of shake up how things are going. We talked a little bit off camera about the BYU quarterback is in hot water right now because he's first had a sexual assault case pending that was only pending for a little bit, and then he ends up getting punishment that's handed down by the team, by the school. The honor code was broken because he engaged in premarital sex, which is forbidden. I guess that's the worst thing you can do if you're in BYU in Utah. It's the worst thing you can do. But he does that, gets a 7. We're talking about the starting quarterback, y'all. 7-game suspension for breaking the honor code is what BYU handed down. Needless to say, he jumped into the transfer portal and he's transferring. He's not going to play at BYU next year because I'm not sitting out 7 games for that, bro. Like, come on, man. Like, that is crazy. I don't know how this rule is still implemented. Shout out to BYU and those guys for standing up to their honor code. But y'all need a different honor code. That's pretty wild. 7 games? You'll suspend your starter for 7 games because of that? Come on, man. I didn't even know what to think. I thought it was actually kind of funny that this rule is still in place. I thought by now they would have said, hey, man, maybe we need to
I just think, Jalen, everybody knows about the BYU honor code. I think there was a basketball player a couple years ago that got suspended or something like that. Got kicked out of school for having sex with a girl I think he eventually married or something like that. I just think this is one of those situations where the sexual assault that went public and because of all of the details of the case, the filing, the police report, is going to be public knowledge. They have to stand on this. Had it not been something that was public, because you got to understand this honor code is something that all students have to adhere to, not just athletes. Yeah, and so if it's public or public knowledge that a kid that went to BYU had sex and he wasn't punished or he wasn't sanctioned or anything like that, they could use that as precedence for other students. So in this particular case, I think they used it to make an example out of him because of the public nature of his transgression. I think if it had just been the coaches that knew or someone else, you may have had to run gassers or something like that. Because you can't tell me that there are no kids at BYU having sex.
Hey,
you know what I mean?
Wayne said it's a lot of married 19-year-olds at BYU. That's what he said yesterday. He said they get married quick so they can go ahead and not have to worry about breaking this honor code.
Experience whatever they're trying to speak. But my point is that the public nature of this case ultimately ended up the guy getting suspended. I don't think the guy did anything. Having sex is generally punished to this degree at BYU. And then the other deal is how can you detect it?
That's what I be wondering is
how do you detect whether 2 kids had sex unless they admit it? And again, I think in this particular situation, it was just a matter of the police report.
I think that's what got him. The police report, he had to admit, did you do it? Well, we did something. It wasn't rape, but we did something. Now the lawsuit has been dropped. He's not under investigation anymore for rape, but still has to uphold that 7-game suspension for committing something. I'm like, how do these guys even know what it like to?
Well, like I said,
hound dogs on each hall or something.
Well, I think things happen where these kind of things are discovered, and I don't think they're things come up. Maybe a RA goes in a room or something like that and finds someone in the huckabuck. You know what I mean? He has to report it. I don't even know if kissing is allowed. You know what I mean?
I don't know what's allowed at this point at BYU for doing that. Shout out AJ DeBanster, man. That $7 million is gonna keep you strong while you're there on campus for the next 8 months. That $7 million will hold you down and give you a reason to make sure that you're following the honor code out there at BYU. But shout out to the dude at BYU, man. At least he's not in any type of legal trouble now. He's got to leave schools for a little extra freaky activity after hours, man. But I think another school will end up picking him up. A couple more quick takes here. Coco Gauff just lost in the first round for her first time, getting a huge upset, being upset in the first round as number 2 player coming into Wimbledon. Said she was not in a great space mentally, ended up losing today in the first round of Wimbledon, man, and she was one of the people that were expected to go out there and win. You know what? This happens. We've seen different times that Serena didn't go out there and win it every single time, maybe lost first or second round. Venus the same way, so I don't think this is anything huge, man. Shout out to Coco Gauff because she's one of the best athletes.
This is a pretty tough – tennis obviously must be much tougher than it looks on TV.
Yeah.
Because they've had several of their very prominent players win championships and then later just almost
melt down.
Have emotional. Again, I think, and I'll ask you this: do you find it quite peculiar that it's happening to the ladies of color, that they're having this mental fatigue and this? I forget the. Osaka.
Naomi
Osaka. She had something similar happen, and now Coco Gauff is the pressure of being.
Had some moments.
Is the pressure of being literally one of the few black elite athletes in the sport? Is that weighing on them?
I'm sure it is. You walk into a room, and it's not many people that look like you, if not anybody at this point. I don't know if Naomi Osaka is competing in Wimbledon. I know Serena's not there anymore, so. You're really going in there and it's by yourself. And then the other part of it, tennis it's just you. It's a big mental battle and just that. There is no, man, if you would have got that block, we would have won. If you would have played that defense.
And you have to be on every there's nobody who can pick the slack up. You know what I mean?
It's you every time.
When Jokic has an off night, he has Jamal Murray or whatever. But in an individual sport, and that's what makes guys in individual sports whether it be track, whether it be tennis in this case, or even boxing as well. And it makes me admire a guy like Floyd Mayweather, who came in each and every fight with the mental focus and determination to beat his opponent each and every night. And so we see how hard it is in tennis and in other sports, man. And so shout out to guys, and this makes me appreciate Serena Williams, guys like Usain Bolt, and even Floyd Mayweather for that matter, because greatness in an individual sport is truly individual greatness.
Yeah, it's just you. We can't go off the 5 rings, the 4 rings, or whatever championship Tom Brady got. We can't do the 6 rings of Mike. We can't do any of that because somebody had to help you be able to get that. If you're talking about what Floyd Mayweather was able to accomplish, why he's one of the greatest athletes of all time, to go 51-0. And it's just you. You can't blame anybody else. You can't do it. It's just you. The Serena Williams of the world, the Usain Bolt, like you brought up. It's just you out there competing against you, honestly. So, I definitely shout out to all those athletes that have to do that. And shout out Coco Gauff, man. She'll be back in this extremely young. I still remember watching her first match in a major tournament a few years ago when she was like 16. And to see where she's been able to grow and become an amazing player, she'll definitely be back in this. She'll be back in another one of these tournaments. And they get, 4 of these tournaments a year, these majors. So she'll come back in the next one with vengeance, man. I have no doubts that Coco Gauff will be able to bounce back from that. Well, we got a few minutes left. I want to go over to a little bit of football, man. Some trades were made yesterday that kind of some people think might have shifted some balance of power yesterday. And a guy like Jalen Ramsey getting traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers, helping them bolster what was already supposed to be a really good defense. Like I said on the show yesterday with Wayne, I was mad they gave up Minkah Fitzpatrick as well. I was hoping they could have all been on that defense together and made one of probably the best secondary in the league. But they trade Minkah Fitzpatrick back to Miami, and she goes over there. But the Pittsburgh Steelers pick up Jalen Ramsey, a guy that plays a lot of star position or nickelback, whatever one you want to call it. There's rumors of him potentially playing safety back there in the backfield with those guys. And then they also pick up a Jonnu Smith at tight end, which I think was a really, really big part of the trade, too, that kind of went under the radar because, like I said yesterday, getting another athletic tight end, one, they need weapons on offense. Their offense is where all their holes are at. Most of their defensive holes were already filled. They needed weapons on offense. Add another tight end. They get to do what Arthur Smith and Aaron Rodgers probably have in common, and they both love to work out of 12 personnel. 2 tight ends, 2 receivers, 1 back. That's what Aaron Rodgers has done most of his career. That's what Arthur Smith loves to do. Now they're able to do that with Jonnu Smith and Pat Fryermuth, the tight end, Caleb Johnson, who they drafted out of Iowa, and then DK Metcalf on the outside. What do you think about the Steelers in their trade yesterday, picking up Jalen Ramsey from the Dolphins?
I think the trade, it was a good trade for the Steelers. I definitely think it makes them better as a, in the pass defense. I don't think it helps them as a run defense very much. I think what Micah Fitzpatrick offered them in run support, I mean, it's hard. Better. It's hard for you to, get that in a safety. And usually if you sacrifice safety and coverage, you lose something on the run support. He was the kind of guy that did both very well, and so again, I think Minka is gets to go to Miami. That's not a bad deal. And
Back to Miami. That's where he was drafted.
And I think ultimately, the better guy, the better player in this. I'm going to say the better player. The more important player is the corner for the Steelers. So I think the Steelers did themselves favor by getting a top level corner. Yeah. And that all and in the division where you have to guard the guys in Cincinnati and in Baltimore, you better have a corner.
Yeah, you need corner. Corner help was definitely more important than safety. I got what they were doing with that. Even though Minka, like you, what he gives him run support and in the passing game, 3-time All-Pro guy. He's a phenomenal player. But bringing in Jalen Ramsey to be able to play corner is more important. You got Joey Porter Jr. on one side. They signed Darius Slay, who just won a championship with the Eagles. Now you add in Jalen Ramsey, who can fill in that nickel spot, who can play some free safety in certain packages and positions if they need him to do that. I like to pick up for him and then getting Jonnu Smith on top of that. Does this shift any balance of power in your mind, at least in their division? Like, does this move anything?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. This still makes, in my opinion, Baltimore the best team. This makes Cincinnati the second best team. I think Steelers are not far off Cincinnati. Yeah. And I think Cleveland is poised to be the bottom dweller in that conference. I mean, in that division. But again, you know how the NFL is. These things could change due to injury at the blink of an eye. Lamar Jackson goes down. Yeah. Joe Burrow goes down. Yeah. It could all unravel for both those teams, and the Steelers and the Browns are in there battling, trying to figure out who's going to win the division. So, football, because of the risk of injury that has to do with football, man, it could go up and it could go down in flames for one team, which provides an opportunity to another team. So I'm looking forward to this upcoming season. I'm looking forward to the Steelers, seeing what they can do with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, in his final year.
And so, like I said, I think they're doing the right thing by bolstering their defense, and getting Jalen Ramsey is actually going to bolster their defense. Yeah, and I think ultimately that's where they're going to have to hang their hat as they have so many years before.
Yeah, definitely. The defense is what's going to drive this. Shoring up that defense and shoring up that secondary, like you said, going against those guys, and just in your own division alone, you got to have secondary help. So I think that'll be a huge piece for them. Like you, I don't think this moves the needle too much. I have them at second best in their division, but I mean, them and Cincinnati are interchangeable. They had almost the same record last year. Whichever one you pick of those, Baltimore is clearly the superpower. I felt like that already. But then them adding DeAndre Hopkins, them adding Jair Alexander, I think Baltimore has put themselves as the top team in the AFC, in my opinion. So definitely over the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Dolphins made one more trade as they trade with the New York Giants to get Darren Waller, who is coming out of retirement, to now join the Miami Dolphins. I'm not sure if that's going to do anything. Darren Waller in his last season in the NFL wasn't that good. He had a very public breakup and divorce with Kelsey Plum, who plays for the Los Angeles Sparks. And then next thing you know, he was making music videos on the beach with a guitar. So I don't know what happened with Darren Waller. He just started dropping music, and then he said he retired. Now I guess maybe his music career is over with, and he's decided to come back to the NFL, joining the Miami Dolphins, who are in a make-or-break season. Them trading for Minka didn't really do anything for their defense, but they're in a make-or-break season with the offense. What is Tua going to do? Can he actually play a full season? What is Tyreek Hill going to do? Can he get back to being a 1,500-yard guy? What are they gonna do with their coach? Can Mike McDaniel actually coach? I'm a firm believer in no. I don't think Mike McDaniel can coach at all because we saw them last year lose one guy into a Tagovailoa, and they couldn't even score 10 points. And you got Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Devin Achane, Raheem Mostert, all these guys in your offense, and you couldn't even score 10 points on it. I don't think he's that good of a coach, but they have some make-or-break stuff. Any thoughts about Darren Waller coming out of retirement to now join the Miami Dolphins?
I mean, Darren Waller was on the Giants. I don't think the Giants have the ability to get anything, was able to get anything out of anybody.
No.
Him being away from the game for so long, I think that can be an issue. But he would, when he was on this game, he was an elite tight end until he went to the Giants and played with a trash quarterback.
Daniel Jones,
yeah. So I mean, one thing I do believe in this, I believe whether Mike McDaniel is a great coach or not, I think that the jury's still out on that. But I think he can scheme it up, and I think if Darren Waller is anywhere close to what he was when he was playing for the Giants, Mike McDaniel can scheme some stuff up where he can really take advantage because he's one of those guys. He's a move tight end. He's a tight end that works really well in space, and he has exceptional hands. So I think he can be used. And will he be a star? Will he be a dominant player? Probably not. But he definitely can fulfill a much needed role for Miami. He won't be Jonnu Smith, but he can be something.
Yeah,
serviceable. I'll say that.
Yeah, I think he can fill in a role, man. I just want to know that they tell him to stop making those music videos before he comes back down into Miami, and don't need to see you in any Pitbull videos or hopefully the rap career. I don't even know if it was rap because he had a guitar in one of them. So hopefully he decided to leave that one alone and start playing some football.
Just stay off them drugs.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's really the biggest part. Stay off of them, man, and stop calling Kelsey Plum, man. I seen her say something about you still trying to. That's over with, bro. Leave that one alone, man. It is what it is. I seen this on Instagram. Which one do you think is more possible? This is football related. Shedeur Sanders starting this season or Travis Hunter playing both sides of the football like he was in college? Which one do you think is more likely to happen in this upcoming season? Shedeur Sanders getting that starting job and playing as a starter for majority. I think they were saying the week one starter, but I would just say it starting job for majority of the season, or Travis Hunter each and every game getting a chance to play both sides of the ball.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna bet on Joe Flacco,
Kenny Pickett, and Gabriel.
You know what I mean? I'm not. This is not any. This has nothing to do with really what Shedeur had. Travis Hunter's ability or anything like that. But my bet is on those guys being who they've always been. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Shedeur being who he's always been.
Yeah.
And so and again, in a really small sample size, Shedeur, with doubt and skepticism all around him, he went out there and showed them that he was exactly who we thought he was in OTAs and minicamp. And so let's see what happens during the season. I think Shedeur is a guy that they're gonna. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think they're gonna try to hide Shedeur, and for this reason, they don't have much invested in him, right? They have money committed to Kenny Pickett and Flacco, and they drafted Dylan Gabriel before him. So I don't think there's any chance Shedeur will get cut.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with that.
And so, with that being the case, I think at some point, due to injury or just poor performance by one or all three, they can end up. Shedeur can end up getting the majority of the snaps this upcoming season.
Yeah, I think and I have a kind of a part two to that question because I agree with your points there. I think he's clearly better than, at least more talented than all three of those guys in there. Joe Flacco's literally no point in playing him at all. I think he's going to be the odd guy out. Kenny Pickett has been on multiple teams, kind of showed what he can do already. And Dylan Gabriel, to one of the Cleveland Browns' own words, one of their reporters' own words was, doesn't even look like an NFL quarterback. So I don't think he has anything to worry about with Dylan Gabriel. Do you think it's beneficial for him to play right away? Because I think if he comes out week one as a starter and they go 0-6, we get to blame everything on Shedeur and say, well, he wasn't the guy. He actually can't play, even though the Browns probably have a high chance of going 0-6 anyway. So if he starts week one, they lose all their games. They have an easy scapegoat and a guy to point their finger at. Is it beneficial for him to win that week one starting job, or to just sit and maybe play later in the season, or not play at all this year?
I think under ideal circumstances, I think Shedeur should sit and let the quarterback room kind of settle.
Yeah.
Like that. Like, to be honest with you, I don't think there's a real urgency. There should be an urgency to play him, because I'm not sure how good the Browns are going to be this year. They haven't shored up their offensive line. You have the situation with Deshaun Watson that has to really play itself out. Like at the end of the day, he's due $30 million, and so are you going to pay the guy the $60 million to go away, or are you going to? Because that's a cloud that's over here, and then. If you get in a situation where, Deshaun Watson forces you to play and he plays well, then what do you have?
Yeah.
I think best case scenario for Shedeur in his career is that he sits out, learns, develops.
I agree.
And as a player, and then gets an opportunity once he kind of gets the rhythm and flow of the NFL game. I don't think that's how the league works nowadays.
Yeah.
I think with him being let's be honest, man. Shedeur is the biggest star on the Cleveland Browns right now.
Already. Immediately.
Yeah, so
unfortunately, even bigger than Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
He is a bigger star than Myles Garrett.
He's the biggest star.
A Hall of Famer.
So they're at some point, for box office reasons alone.
Yeah.
For box office and press reasons alone.
Absolutely.
He may have to show up and play. And I hope he does well. But again, if I was managing Shedeur's career and I had to play at the Browns under these circumstances, I'd like the quarterback room to be a little more settled.
Yeah.
When I do it, because I think it could be even more beneficial if he goes in and he clearly is better than Dylan Gabriel. They get rid of Deshaun Watson. They address, they let the Flacco thing play itself out. They get rid of Kenny Pickett, and he comes in next year as the number one quarterback, gets a guy in that would be willing to mentor him, and even though he wouldn't be a number one quarterback, number one draft pick, he would have the same support system that a number one quarterback would have. That's what I think the issue is with him now.
Yeah.
If he gets to play, he doesn't have that support system of a number one first round draft pick. You know what I mean? And that's and you know this just as well as I do. Situation and circumstance dictates a lot of a quarterback's success.
Yep.
And so if I were, if I had my druthers, I would have him sit out and have him the coming into next season as the heir apparent, get all the support he needs to be successful. Get him a veteran wide receiver. Get him, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Get all those things that a number one draft pick generally gets when he comes in.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think they have to. I think it's more beneficial for him to sit. Even if he plays this year, it could be at the end of the year. If he starts the season off as a starter quarterback, he's going to be the villain. If he comes in week 13, he gets to be the hero because they'll get to look at how horrible Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco and Dylan Gabriel are and say, okay, Shedeur, can you come in and do something? On the other hand, if he starts week one and he has a game where he throws 2 picks, no touchdowns, now you're the villain. Now you're the guy that we got to, let's throw Gabriel in, let's throw Pickett, let's throw Flacco in the game. So,
Well, like he only has one. Being the 4th-round draft pick, he only has one. He doesn't have the option to struggle.
Yeah.
Like that's the reality in this situation is whenever he goes in, he has to make it happen.
Yeah.
If he can't make it happen, he's not going. They're gonna bail on him, and as they do on all 4th-round draft picks. I want to say Dak is a 4th-round draft pick, and when I say, let me correct this, Shador is a 5th-round draft pick.
5th round. Yeah,
5th-round draft pick.
Yeah.
So you don't get a second chance. You don't get a third chance. You don't get the benefit of the doubt. And so he has to, when he goes in, he has to light it up
right away. Yeah, I agree.
He can't be okay or just he has to light it up.
Yeah, and he cannot turn the ball over. He's not going to get any of those. That's what he's going to get that's different than the 1st-round pick. He's not going to get a chance.
No
to
growing pains whatsoever.
No, what's the name? Bo Nix games where you win a game and you had 70 yards. Yeah, he's not going to get any games like that. So he's got to go out there and perform right away. But I'm interested to see what the Browns are going to do. Folks, training camp is right around the corner from right now. I can't wait to be able to watch some of those games, watch what's going on. The Cowboys got a show that's going to be coming out in August that's going to have somewhat of some training camp stuff in it. We're going to get Hard Knocks again this year. So I'm excited, man, for football. It's that time of year where basketball season's starting to die off and all of us football fans are starting to want to watch any football. I'll probably watch a full CFL game right now from start to finish just to be able to watch some football right about now. So we're right around the corner from that. But we're out of time here today on Centex Primetime. I want to thank everybody for tuning in with us. At some point before August, Rocky, we got to do a show centered around fantasy football, man, to get everybody ready for the season. And
we may host the league. How about that?
Let's do that. Let's do that.
Let's host the league.
I'm usually in about 2 or 3 leagues every single year, man. So I'm definitely down with that. We're doing that. So we'll do something around fantasy football. I'm still gonna put together that list I said last week on the show. Some of the other guys in there. We got to redo that. CBS came out with a list of their top 25 players in NFL history all time. The list was as bad as it could ever be. I hated the list. I didn't like anything. The only picks I liked that they got decently right out of that, I think, was the number 1 and 2 player was Tom Brady and Jerry Rice. I said, I can deal with that. After that, it just started getting ugly. When we start putting, like, Dick Bucket's top 10, like, we got to chill out, y'all. Like, in no world is Dick Bucket's better than Randy Moss. Like, or just there's 100 guys I can name before I name Dick Bucket's. So, like, can we chill out with some of these guys that we put into that top 10? So we'll be redoing that list, too, as well. We got a few lists we're going to come out with before the season starts back up. Football season right around the corner locally for the Baylor Bears, for all these teams in high school as well, too, man. So right around the corner for that, ready to see that. Want to thank Rocky for jumping on here with us. As always, man, we're going to be back here tomorrow, same time, same place, as we'll be here for Centex Primetime. Make sure you guys lock in. Subscribe to the YouTube, Centex Sports Network, and subscribe to the website, CentexSportsNetwork.com, man. You'll see my bottom ticker there for Instagram at the bottom ticker on the screen, and you can also follow the show at Centex Primetime on Instagram as well. Want to thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see everybody tomorrow. Everybody have a great evening.